Welcome everyone to EGX 2019. Up next we have the Planet Zoo panel. I'm Alice from Rock Paper Shotgun, and we've got a wonderful panel of creators from Frontier across multiple departments, including direction, art and design, and programming. And they're going to be answering a very important question. Can you really put a price on happiness? Let's introduce everyone here today.
Hi, I'm Piers Jackson. I'm the game director on Planet Zoo. I've been making video games now for a bit over 20 years. The last 2.5 of those been on Planet Zoo.
Hi, my name's Lisa Bowens. I'm a senior artist currently working on Planet Zoo. I've been with Frontier for 4 years, and I previously also worked on Planet Coaster.
Hi, I'm Andy Chappell. I'm lead programmer on Planet Zoo. I've been at Frontier for about 10 years and had a lot of fun working on Planet Coaster before Planet Zoo for 2.5 years.
Now we're all friends. We're going to jump straight into the reveal of a new and never-before-seen video, Dev Diary 3. This series of videos are deep dives into different features within Planet Zoo, and the focus of this one is about the depths of the game's mechanics and how they help you form an attachment to your animals, the staff, and your zoo in general.
I think one of the ways that we're really wanting to engage people is with the depth of the management. There's a lot to do, a lot of plates to spin at all times, whether it's looking after the animal husbandry, performing research, delving into heat maps to see what's going on. I think people should be really, really excited about Planet Zoo.
There are multiple game modes in Planet Zoo. These are sandbox, where you are given unlimited money, resources, and fully completed research.
You'll have access to all the animals, all of the different piece sets. The only real limit is your imagination.
In career mode, you'll be playing through a series of scenarios in which the overall goal is to improve or build a zoo.
There'll be lots of fun and challenging scenarios that you'll have to play as the campaign story takes you all over the world. You'll be asked to build, expand and restore zoos, take care of rescued animals and participate in breeding programs. Each of the different scenarios will give you a unique challenge, and that will really test you as a player and will hopefully grow your management skills.
There's also some interesting characters that you'll get to know. The narrative really helps drive things forward, and we're really excited to see players explore this and find out more about it.
Franchise mode is our online portion of the game. You've got to start from scratch. You've got to add in all of your staff facilities. You've got to build habitats. You've got to place exhibits. And this will all take a little bit of time. You have to build up slowly, make sure you don't expand too fast, spend too much money.
Our fourth mode is very much inspired by Planet Coaster's challenge mode.
This takes the managerial gameplay of franchise mode and replaces the online functionality and the community challenges with zoo challenges. This mode is specifically designed for players who want an offline experience.
So zoos are not static things. As you bring animals in, they will grow, they will breed, the numbers increase. You have to change the zoo around them, the infrastructures and the facilities you need. Nothing in Planet Zoo will ever stay still.
The animals in your zoo will constantly present you with different challenges and problems. You may set up your habitat initially so that it is perfect and they're all 100% happy, but that is very unlikely to stay the case. Your animals will probably give birth, which will change the social structure of the habitat. Other animals may then become stressed because their space requirements will go up. If you don't have enough space for all those animals, their welfare will go down. This will lead to unhappy guests because they can see that your animals are stressed, which will then lead to protesters coming to your zoo.
Maintaining your animals' welfare is at the core of Planet Zoo. Your objective is to make sure that your animals are as healthy and happy as they can be. So a great way to do this is to assign your staff to research your animals.
In Planet Zoo, there are two types of research. One's done by the vets and the other one's done by the mechanics. And to make research work, you have to build them a facility and then you assign them a research project.
You'll have a mechanic who you assign to a specific set of research. It might be a theme set, it might be new barrier walls, it might be new shops or new habitat objects.
Vet research is more to do with the animals and disease.
For disease research, you just need the research centre. For animal research, you need that species to be present in your zoo and to be in a habitat that is accessible for a vet to go and research.
As your vets start to learn more about what your animals like and dislike, you'll start to unlock various enrichment items that you can add to your habitats and exhibits that will really make your animals feel a lot more at home. Not only that, your zoo will also become more effective at caring for your animals and also educating your guests about the animals.
Performing research in franchise mode can help contribute to a zoo's reputation and rating. So your zoo rating is determined by the quantity and quality of animals in your zoo.
Your zoo's reputation is slightly different. It's based on how happy your animals are, how happy your guests are, how much conservation work you're doing, your education.
To monitor all of these different attributes in a traditional UI in a table doesn't really give you a sense of the geography of the problems, of where in the zoo are these problems happening.
One of the things I'm most proud of in Planet Zoo are the additions of our heat maps. We've got a really, really large selection and they make a huge difference to how you actually manage the game. The amount of information you can extract out of it, whether it's how the guests are feeling, what they want, how the animals are feeling, how your facilities are running, it goes on and on. They are so incredibly powerful.
So keeping an eye on heat maps is a really, really important part of running your zoo. You can also find out information about animals. For example, if there's any escape points in your habitat that you might want to cover up so you don't have animals running around your zoo.
So with franchise, what we want to do is to allow you to create multiple zoos as part of a single franchise, to be able to move your animals backwards and forwards and set these franchises wherever you wanted on the planet. But to take it a step further, we wanted you to be able to trade your animals with other people's zoos, with other franchises.
So you adopt and buy animals from the trade centre and they can come from multiple sources. Some of those are breeding programs, custom seizures, pets, private zoos and rescue centres.
When you're looking on the animal market to find the perfect animal, there's a few things you really need to look out for.
The main thing to look out for is genetics. You want to adopt an animal that's got as good at genetics as possible.
You can either trade in game currency or in conservation credits. And game currency is earned through just playing the game, but the conservation credits take a little bit more effort to do.
Conservation credits are really important when you run your zoo. You're able to use them to buy better animals off of the animal exchange, and you can earn them by selling your own animals on the animal exchange, or you can release animals to the wild, or you can take part in community challenges where you get conservation credits for releasing animals or adopting animals, whatever the community challenge is.
We have plenty of things that players can share with each other. As Planet Coaster established, we allow people to build blueprints. Very, very new to us is that we have the ability to blueprint our actual habitats. So that's everything in the habitats and the voxel terrain that's built within them. And I think that's a really, really cool and great new addition to the game.
There's so many different things that we've added into this game that I'm super proud of and that the dev team have worked incredibly hard on. So I think the thing I'm looking forward to most is just people getting to enjoy and experience the game.
There's a lot of depth to the management in Planet Zoo, and we've only just scratched the surface here.
It's such a deep and interesting game. The animals feel so alive.
There's an emotional experience there that is really hard to get in any other game that I've played.
I grew up playing zoo management games, as I'm sure a lot of our community members did, and I'm thrilled to see it being revived with Planet Zoo.
Right, so that showed us some more detail on things like zoo management and ratings, all elements which have a big impact on your overall zoo reputation. While there are 4 modes in Planet Zoo, today we're looking more specifically at franchise mode, and in that video we saw the tropical biome, which is looking stunning. Let's chat a little bit more about the game and how these all come together. Games like Planet Coaster have been about creating amazing rides which generate cash and excite visitors, while Planet Zoo has opted for a different kind of approach, focusing on welfare, enrichment, and other feel-good factors. So, how do you put a price on happiness?
Right, I will try and put a price on happiness. the thing about Planet Zoo that differs from Planet Coaster, in Planet Coaster, all of your guests were kind of driven towards your hyper-realistic coasters, down to like the detail on every last bolt. You built these fantastic, thrilling coasters for them to ride, and they kind of arrived at your park and had a tolerance of how scary a ride am I going to go on, and then they kind of wander through your park, queue up, ride the cool roller coasters, buy some drinks and things. It was all great. Planet Zoo was kind of we had to completely change how our guest logic works. We have like these fantastically detailed and beautiful animals. One of the things that Frontier is known for is kind of detail and accuracy in our work. We've got beautiful animals for our guests to come and look at, but also we want to kind of promote the feeling of a modern zoo, and guests come to the zoo to not only see the animals, but to learn about them and kind of gather information. And the idea of a driving need for guests as education is really important to us, and it's been a kind of pivotal fact in how we plan out our guests moving around the theme park. Sorry, zoo.
I think it was really important for us at the start to be very sensitive towards the actual animal needs and the welfare. So whereas you take Planet Coaster and we're looking at the track rides and the intricacy and the detail there is exceptional, we had to translate that within the Planet franchise and actually apply it to the animals. And it really becomes about you caring and looking after the animals. If you don't, then the zoo will start to collapse, the guests will not be happy. But that's the ultimate thing you have to do in Planet Zoo, and that really is what modern zoos are all about.
Yeah, and it's something that we saw quite a bit when we started to have people play the game. We did a bunch of demos at E3 and Gamescom, and usually how those go is you're in a room with a journalist and you're like, right, I'm going to try and show you as much as I can. So why don't you just quickly do this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. And then people will be like, no, wait, it doesn't have any toys. Like, can we buy it some stuff? Does it have food? Do we need to add some plants? And I was sat there like, I kind of want to move you on. And they just, no, just a moment. You know, I'm going to put some trees down and some bushes. And it's that care for the animals that requires you to make a lot of cash in the game. So that's where finding out those management things, how do you still get your guests to come in, enjoy a little burger, enjoy a little soda, give you their hard-earned cash so you can take better and better care of these animals.
Cool. Diving into some of the details behind these systems, it's really interesting to see how things like the animal, education and conservation ratings inform the larger zoo reputation and the impact that has. Can you chat a little bit more about how you go into designing and balancing so many systems?
Well, I'm not going to lie, the actual balancing is staggeringly difficult. We've got very, very large number of game loops. Some of them very, very tight, some of them much larger, and they all intertwine. They're very, very difficult, very, very convoluted. But actually, the output of that is that we really end up with very much emergent gameplay. However you want to actually build your zoo, the zoo will react, the animals will react in terms. In terms of the other part of the question and where the design came from, so 2 and a bit years ago, we set out and we had a little look about this and what we were going to do with Planet Zoo. And the first thing we did was we actually looked online as to what it takes to open an actual zoo. It's pretty well documented. So there are a big long checklist of everything you need. So, you know, you need to provide habitats that are suitable for the animals. You need to be able to educate your guests. You need to conserve the animals, engage in activities like releasing to the wild and research. So they became the pillars of our development. All of the design had to revolve around supporting and supplementing those activities, and that's really where the game was built from.
Yeah, and at Frontier, the community plays a very important part of our games, and we were keen to provide the same kind of community-level support and improve upon it that we had for Planet Coaster. Things like being able to blueprint an entire habitat is absolutely brilliant. I love the Steam Workshop, and being able to see all of your amazing creations on the Steam Workshop is fantastic, because when I'm building my zoos at home, I get to steal them all and put them in my zoos. It's brilliant. I'm mostly there to play in the management and looking at the cool animals. I'm not very great at building scenery, so being able to go and find a perfect lion habitat or go and find a perfect staff building on the workshop and just drop that into my zoo is fantastic.
I mean, we will be shipping the game with blueprints that we've made, but I'm not going to lie, there was a point during the beta when everyone was submitting their blueprints to the workshop, and we were just kind of sat there like, do we bother? Because everything was looking so good, our community is so creative. And then if we go back to that design aspect, from the art side, being able to show all of those deep layers of design and management is kind of a hard task, and that kind of comes back in, one, making sure that your animals look really real, like you could almost touch them and stuff, but then also to sound design, what kind of cues do you get? If the warthogs are hungry, they'll start making more and more noise, and then you can see them waddling to their food trough, and they'll get noisier and noisier until they're actually eating. It's little things like that that give the mental state of your animals away to you, on top of all of the more dry cut stuff like the heat maps, which are an insanely useful tool if you just want to quickly find out what's wrong in your zoo. And kind of piecing this all together has been a very interesting experience.
I think it's one of the biggest design challenges we've had, actually, is getting all the feedback mechanisms into the game. You know, the game is complicated, it's very deep, it's got a lot that you can dig into, and it's been about creating things like the heat maps and all the notification systems that allow you to really understand or get inside the heads of the animals. Beyond that, we've also started looking at our career mode. We need to get people really engaged in the game. It's got a lot to learn. So the idea here is to provide a narrative that runs throughout the duration of a bunch of scenarios. With the first few scenarios, we're just really tutorializing the game. We're bringing you online, getting you to understand how all these different systems work and connect with each other, and it's a really important activity.
Yeah, we know everybody loves creating things, loves uploading things. We really would suggest that everybody who wants to play Planet Zoo plays the first few tutorial levels first. It's complicated, and if you go through them, things make a lot more sense.
Please take care of your animals, guys. Please play the tutorial.
Yeah, the tutorial I played over the beta was very in-depth and very detailed. If that's only 1/3 of the tutorial, I can't wait to play the rest of it. So getting more specifically onto online franchise mode, this is where players have a network of zoos all connected under the same franchise, as well as online functionality, opening things up to every other player around the world. When creating this online aspect, what were some of the key aims behind this edition and the design features you wanted to implement?
So again, it sort of goes back to the core pillars of what we were attempting to achieve. One of the things that real zoos actually have an issue with is inbreeding. You know, they engage in conservation activities, they're trying to breed animals to release to the wild, but they're dealing with a small number of animals, and so the stock becomes a bit inbred. Now, zoos work around that by running stud books. You know, they actively swap animals between one zoo and another. And we thought that would be a great activity for the community to engage in. So within franchise mode, we allow people to effectively trade their animals and keep their genetic stock healthy.
And it's also, again, fun for our community, who is very creative. We touched on the blueprints earlier as well. That online aspect has been so important on Planet Coaster, we just had to bring it back in Zoo. There's no way we're not getting all of those blueprints, so I can put them in my park, please.
Yeah, a wonderful little statistic. During the 2 weeks of beta we had over 3,000 workshop items uploaded, which is fantastic. I can't wait to use them all.
None of them would have been from me, because I take everyone else's. You recently announced a 4th mode called Challenge Mode, which is for offline players. Can you give us some more detail on what that is and how it works?
Yeah, sure. Thanks to our fantastic community feedback during the beta, we realised that people really want to be able to play through Planet Zoo in an offline experience for whatever reason, but still have the challenge of research and unlocking things and running a functioning zoo economy. So we're pleased to announce that we're bringing back franchise mode from Planet Coaster into Planet Zoo with a whole new set of challenges and a whole new set of rewards to balance, and it kind of give you that gameplay experience of some challenge without just being able to freeform build everything, but still in a fun and playable way.
Cool. The animals are very much the star of the show, and where players are going to find their emotional attachment in the game. But there's a lot more to building a successful zoo. Things like staff, exhibit, and land management all play an important part in delivering the experience. How far down the rabbit hole can players go on the road to creating their zoo paradise?
I mean, really, you can go as far deep down as you want to. I'd love to touch on the staff a bit, because they've really improved quite a lot from Planet Coaster. We've got so many more staff types. You've got the keepers, you've got all your shopkeepers who are still kicking around, your mechanics, you've got the vets. There's a lot more going on. You need to do your research. But your staff members, you know, they're the ones taking care of the animals, and usually the animals are in the spotlight. But you're really the caretaker of your staff members. You have to make sure that they have a place to rest, somewhere where they can go and actually prepare the food. Make sure that they're well taken care of, because if you look after them, they will look after your animals even better. And there's a lot of ways of managing them, like with the heat maps. You can see their thoughts. You can take a look at their work zones. Setting those up is really important for the most efficient workflow of your zoo. So there's a lot there to kind of get your hands on.
I think it also touches on one of the game loops that we were really trying to work with. So we wanted to create spatial dependencies within the zoo. So the zoos are really broken down into two halves. There's the half that the guests are meant to wander around in and get the great views of the animals. And then there's the area of the game that relates to the staff and all of the facility buildings. And we want to make sure they're all kept off site. Now, we've done this with the game mechanic where the guests do not like being near any of these buildings and will complain bitterly about it and refuse to buy your ice creams and stuff. And so you have to try and structure the whole zoo around keeping your things like vets and your keepers close to the habitats but away from the guests. I mean, one of the mechanics we use for this is we create staff paths, but then also, as Lisa's highlighting, the idea that we create work zones, so you restrict your staff to certain areas and try and create the most optimal experience possible.
Yeah, and kind of to touch on other changes as well, we've talked a lot about the staff and animals, but the guests are an important part of your zoo experience too. And we've made a bunch of really interesting changes from Planet Coaster in this regard. Things like the weather looks fantastic. It's amazing seeing animals in the snow, but it also affects your guests. They'll want to buy more hot drinks in the cold weather, more cold drinks. Things like umbrellas. You can now set up an information point and charge ludicrous amounts of money for umbrellas just to really annoy your guests. But all of this stuff kind of comes together, and features that we had in Planet Coaster, things like congestion, which slows down your people. It stops them getting good looks at your animals. That kind of stuff all comes together, and guests will take sheltered paths rather than open paths and things like that when they choose where to go to avoid the rain. And being able to realise that you can build this shelter path not just by placing down the piece of path scenery that's marked as shelter, but by anything. You can build it out of terrain, you can build it out of piece by piece scenery, and that feature kind of carries on to work not just for guests, but for staff and for animals in the zoo as well. It's really amazing, and it's really impressive as you start to build and realise that instead of just putting down like generic shelter pieces, you can build a rocky mountain for your gorillas to climb on with a nice little bit of shelter, or a bear cave where your bears can sleep, but can also be visible to your guests as well.
And all of these things again then come back in how do we try and communicate this to the player? You'll see your guests being like, oh, it's kind of chilly today. I mean, they won't say that, but they'll definitely do this. And then when you make caves, you will hear the kind of echoes reverberating in there a bit. My audio team has reported to me that all our biomes have like different birds, the weather will be different. When your guests are unhappy, you'll see them slouching. When they are happy, they'll be a lot more enthusiastic when they look into all the habitats. Your staff members as well. When your keepers walk into a habitat, they'll call out for the animals for food. They'll be like, ho-footy ho-fo. All the animals will come. And depending on how good you take care of your staff, they'll sound a lot more happy or demotivated doing it. And all these little cues become this kind of sound and design language to tell you as a player, without having to look at all of the maps and the staff panels and stuff, exactly how your zoo is feeling.
Yeah, the weather system's something I'm incredibly proud of. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Not only does it look amazing and it runs through the full day-night cycle, but as these guys have been saying, it affects the guests, but beyond that, it also affects the animals. Each of our biomes is set up with its own kind of weather, so the probability of snow or rain or incredibly baking sun, it changes depending on where you build your zoo, and that puts a new management set of challenges really down for whether of how you set up your habitats, whether you put shelter in them, whether you put heaters or coolers down, whether you have bodies of water for the animals to swim in. All of these things are interlinked, and again, it kind of comes back to that first question, the complexity and depth and the emergent gameplay that we have because of the many game loops that we're connecting together.
Yeah, things that feel obvious when you look at it, but things like it costs more to run a cooler in a hot habitat, so you've got to make sure that you can't just build an environment full of snow leopards, because that would be very expensive if you want to run that in the Sahara.
Yeah, I mean, one little detail, I didn't even realise this was in the game actually, but we have our exhibit animals, so they sit within sort of glass boxes, and they're the smaller type animals. You have to provide heaters or coolers to them based on where you put them in the biome. But actually, if you put shelter over them, it actually changes the ambient temperature as well. So it's sort of layers within layers within layers. There's a lot of depth.
Yeah, you'll quite often see the bears just chilling in the cold, But then if there's any animals that don't like it, they'll go in shelter, and vice versa. If they don't like the hot, they'll just be like, I'm just going to chill here because there's shelter and the sun isn't here and it's nice. It's a really cute little detail.
So you recently had the Planet Zoo beta, which just ended, which I'm sad about, by the way, because I really liked it. Any fun tales of things players unexpectedly managed to do? Did they surprise you?
I really like that everyone figured out land bridges. So you can build 2 habitats with a path in between, and then if you build a terrain bridge, or you build it out of anything really, the animals can go from the one side of the habitat and to the other. And we did that quite a bit during development where we built it and stuff. But then when I saw the first screenshots come on the Reddit of people, oh look, I've built this habitat and they can go from this side to the other, it's great. And I was like, yes, you figured it out, good job.
Yeah, it's been really fantastic to see everybody's feedback from beta. Thanks to our fantastic community team for reporting back, and all of you for posting on Reddit and our forums. We've learned an awful lot. Part of the really cool thing of working on games like Planet Zoo and getting to interact with the community is getting to see all those wonderful firsts, like things like the land bridges, and hear people's stories for how they play our games. One of my favourite anecdotes was right towards the end of the beta, somebody on Reddit posted that they got a couple of bears and they were going to release them to the wild at the end of their beta experience, so like set them free. And then when they went to kind of look at them, they realised that they were really, really scarred and had clearly been through an awful lot before they ended up in their zoo. And that's partly a nice callback to franchise mode. We want the animals kind of to have a personality and move from area to area. They have a story to tell. But the story that this player created was that he decided, instead of releasing them to the wild, keep them in the zoo to kind of see out their final days. I thought that was lovely.
There was a cool story I saw with some zebras, actually. There was this habitat, it had been beautifully built, and there's a bunch of adult zebras that had been put in there, and they were nicely held in the habitat, and then they reproduced, and they had a little baby zebra. Now, the little baby zebra was narrower, and it managed to find a way. It snuck up through all of the rocks and actually managed to climb out of the habitat. Great when you put the heat map up and you can see how it's doing it. A little bit interesting when you get the notification that this thing's escaped. You go, well, how's it got out? So
I did also like the updates people did. Sometimes they'd post on the Reddit saying, here's my animal and he's perfect. And I'll be like, nice. And then 3 days later, you see another update and they're like, here he is, he's still doing great. And I'm like, nice. And you start to really feel this relationship that players have with their animals. And like the story of, oh, I'm not going to release them into the wild because they're cute. I mean, I've done that. I've been testing and I needed a bear and I put a bear in there. And then I thought, you look kind of lonely. So I built him a habitat and gave him a wife and I gave him bears and a shelter and everything. And then I've still got them saved in the development park. I'm just like, yeah, it's nice. It's that kind of connection that I really enjoyed seeing coming out of the beta. You know, not just them being some pixels on a screen, but actually feeling like you have this connection with these animals has been really lovely.
So I was going to say, it's got to the point where as we're finishing up Planet Zoo, we're testing things, and I always feel really bad if I just build a really quick habitat with just a few walls around and maybe a feeding station, a drinking station. I kind of look at the sad-looking line in there and think, oh, I should really give you some toys.
I mean, one of the other great ones I saw in the beta, actually, it was a fantastic structure. It was an enormous kind of glass house, huge structure. And the creator had built 2 or 3 habitats inside it, and they were beautifully laid out. You know, they looked like rainforests, little waterfalls and everything. And then it was spun round, and all of the staff facilities had been squirreled away in the back with hidden gates. And I thought, you know what, that's absolutely spot on. That's exactly what we were aiming for in the design. And to watch someone actually create something that fulfills all of that, you know, that was worth everything, frankly.
That's incredible. Some people made some amazing things. My park looked like a mess, but everyone was happy, and I got really attached to the animals and didn't want to trade any of them. So, anything you can tell us about the future of Planet Zoo? Any DLC or long-term plans?
Well, the entire team's really focused on the 5th of November right now, so we'll first release the game.
That's completely fair.
So I was going to say, Frontiera, we're known for our long-term support of games. So while we are really focused on the 5th of November, we can't wait to carry on telling you the story of Planet Zoo.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining me today. So Planet Zoo is out on the 5th of November. Make sure you wishlist it on Steam if you haven't already, and pre-order it for some special bonuses. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you all for joining us too.
think we've got time for one more thing. So before we came on stage, we had a bit of a debate for what's the cutest animal.
Oh.
So I think the cutest animal in Planet Zoo is the red panda. And Lisa?
I think anyone can fight me if they don't agree that the baby tapir is the best.
So do we want to have a quick show of hands in the audience for red panda?
That seems like a lot. Baby tapir? Aww.
Yeah, red panda's totally got it.
I'll see you guys outside, okay?
Thanks very much for coming and listening. And thanks
thank
to Alice
you.
for fantastically presenting for us.
Thank you for having me.